Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down a shockwave that just absolutely rocked the global economy. It's a crazy story, really, about how a conflict in one region can set off a worldwide market meltdown in just a matter of days.
And it all kicked off with this one number, negative 1,232. I mean, can you believe it? That's how far the Dow Jones Industrial Average just plummeted, right at the opening bell. For anyone on Wall Street, that was a serious gut punch.
And look, this wasn't just some small dip. We're talking about the Dow's worst day in months. But, and this is the key thing, as bad as it was for the US markets, this was really just the first domino to fall. The shockwaves, they were about to go global, and fast.
So you gotta ask, what on earth triggers this kind of panic, right? How does a conflict in the Middle East make Wall Street just completely nosedive? Well, let's get into it. Let's break down the geopolitical spark that lit this whole thing up.
The answer, it turns out, is an incredibly fast escalation. I mean, we're talking about a situation that went from tense to totally explosive in just a couple of days. It kicks off with US-Israeli airstrikes on Iran over the weekend. Then, by Monday, boom, Iran's supreme leader is confirmed killed. That same night, the US president says this could go on for weeks. And then Tuesday, Iran hits back, striking the US embassy in Saudi Arabia. And just like that, the conflict got bigger, and that's the moment the markets absolutely hit the panic button.
You know, it wasn't just the actions on the ground, it was the words, too, that really spooked the markets. This quote, it was a massive red flag. Think about it. That word, forever, that's pure poison to investors. It just screams long-term instability. The message couldn't have been clearer. This isn't going to be over quickly, and all that uncertainty, it's here to stay.
So this whole geopolitical mess, well, it was about to pour oil on the fire of the global economy. And I mean that literally. Let's take a look at how one tiny, narrow strip of water became the absolute center of global economic fear.
Okay, so this is the heart of the whole problem, the Strait of Hormuz. You could argue it's the most critical choke point for the world's entire energy supply. Just think about this for a second. About one-fifth of all the oil the entire world consumes passes right through this tiny waterway. And with Iran right there on its coast, you can see why any instability here makes the global markets, well, incredibly nervous.
Right, so now you've got Iran in an active, expanding conflict. The threat that they could close or disrupt this strait, it suddenly became terrifyingly real. And here's the thing about markets. They don't wait for something to actually happen. They react to the fear of it happening. And the reaction to this potential supply shock, it was instant, and it was absolutely massive.
And the numbers here, they tell the story. We saw an immediate, super steep climb in oil prices. Brent crude, that's the big international benchmark, it jumped almost 8%. The US version, WTI, surged even more. I mean, for a single day, those are just huge moves. It's a kind of price spike that sends shock waves of inflation through the whole global economy.
And this is where it really shows you how fast a crisis like this hits you at home. This isn't just some abstract problem for traders on Wall Street. In the US, that jump in crude oil meant gas prices at your local station went up 11 cents. Overnight. That's a direct, immediate hit to your wallet.
Okay, so oil is spiking. We get that. But this was way more than just an energy story. And it wasn't just an American problem either. No, this was a full-blown global sell-off. The panic that started in New York, it spread like wildfire to Tokyo, to London, everywhere. And man, did it spread fast.
This financial contagion just created a sea of red across markets all over the world. You look at Asia, South Korea's KOSPI got absolutely hammered, down over 7%. And that makes sense, right? They import a ton of oil, so they were super vulnerable. Japan's Nikkei fell over 3%. Then over in Europe, London's FTSE 100 dropped almost 3%. It was like a coordinated global rush for the emergency exits. And get this, it wasn't just oil. In the UK, the price of natural gas for the next month, it just skyrocketed. We're talking a 30% jump in a single day. That pushed prices to a 3-year high and immediately sparked fears of a whole new energy crisis for people and businesses there.
So this is where you start to see all the ripple effects, right? It all connects. Airline stocks, they got crushed because jet fuel, their biggest expense, just got way more expensive. Currencies took a hit. The British pound fell to a 3-month low. And all of this fed into two huge economic fears. One, that inflation was about to come roaring back. And two, that central banks could forget about cutting interest rates anytime soon.
So, when you put it all together, it leaves us staring at a very uncertain horizon. This is exactly what happens when geopolitics and economics collide head-on. The global economy was doing okay, on a pretty steady path. And now, suddenly, it's just completely swamped with volatility and risk.
It's serious when even the top economists at the IMF are basically saying, we don't know what's next. They've put out a warning that the final economic damage really just depends on how long this conflict goes on and how much bigger it gets. To put it simply, as long as there's uncertainty out there, you can bet there's going to be chaos in the markets.
And that leaves us with one last big, important question to think about. Remember, this whole thing, from the first airstrike to a global market crash, it all happened in less than a week. It really forces us to ask, in a world as connected as ours, just how vulnerable is our entire global economy to the next big geopolitical shock?
Thanks for joining us for this explainer.